Just as I promised, I'm going to explain how I was able to get this client a 200-point credit score increase on all three bureaus in 60 days. Now, it's a bit of a caveat. While I have credit score increase videos, this one was actually 90 days because there was a 30-day prep, 60-day scores. What does that mean? The very first thing at the top, personal info disputes. And like I said, I'm going to explain how I did this and why it worked and why I did it. We're not going to go over all the parts because some of them are straightforward, like B complaints, AG complaints, CFPB complaints. The point is, the things that we are going to go over are very important. Personal info disputes. These can be done online. They can be done by mail. They can be done in just a regular, simple letter like this. This is the type of letter that if you've been following any of my videos, you know that I write simple, straight to the point. This is the crap that I found, and this is what you need to do with it. And we're listing our names, our addresses, whatever is inaccurate or that you want them to remove. I do have another letter. I couldn't find it while I was looking for my content for this video, but it's the most effective dispute letter that includes your personal information, your addresses, etc. There's a couple ways to do this. If you're using Metro 2, you can use a Metro 2 letter plus personal info all in the same letter. But if you're doing this kind of just the do-it-yourself version of this, use a simple letter. You can say, these are the names listed incorrectly. I was never known by senior or junior, or this isn't my name because you didn't include senior or junior or whatever. Or I got married, but I want all the negative items that were attached to my maiden name to be removed. So I'm going to say that's not my name. All the addresses, you can just say, I never lived at these addresses. When I was fixing my credit, I had 28 addresses and I had to remove 26. Sometimes you will find a separate last four social. Don't freak out. If so, add it to this letter. Now, let's move on. The reason behind the personal info dispute is more important than how to dispute it. If you don't know, one of the ways that the credit bureaus will get rid of you quickly is by submitting a dispute and them just verifying or doing a fake investigation just based off the fact that your account is attached to your personal information. So when an account is added to your credit report, it's added with certain parts of your personal information, like your name, your date of birth, your social, etc. Right? So with the negative ones, we need to remove that personal information that attaches you to the account and the geographical code that makes that happen. And that is how we do it. It can take a couple of rounds. We got lucky with this client and I was able to get that done. Sometimes you'll need about 10 days, other times more. We did a 10-day hard, basically one and done shot at it. I also submitted a CFPB complaint. All these addresses aren't here. He never lived at XYZ, blah, blah, blah. Added some privacy specific laws to the complaint, sent it to the bureaus with my letters, and that was that. Sometimes you have to hammer it 5 or 6 times. Sometimes it takes one, sometimes it takes three. You will not know until you actually get there. Let's go to the next one. Create and utilize a violation log with all proof. This can be an Excel spreadsheet or Google Sheets. Don't make this difficult. You need to know what was the violation, when did it occur, how did it occur, what law was violated, and save your attachments. This is important because once you've exhausted all your remedies, you need to go to the CFPB with all your proof. Okay. If you don't have the proof noted down, you won't be able to do that. I created an app to track all my violations. It's very simple. You don't need to use an app. You can use something super simple. Data furnisher disputes. I'm going to pull up something. Let me go find it real quick. So we're going to go pull up the debt validation disputes. They're very straightforward. A lot of people don't know that there's a lot of letters in this process, but there is. It's not just one letter. You might need to attack multiple times. With this one, because we started with this before we went to the bureaus, it worked out beautifully. I used to do debt validation before anything else. It depends on the file, but you have to realize you have bureaus, creditors, collectors. It's not just one thing. So here's the only thing that you need to understand about the debt validation process and why it works. There's two laws. If you've seen any of my videos, we've gone through this. I'm not going to show you the letters because, I mean, it's very simple. It's very straightforward. You can find one online. This is only for collections outside the statute of limitations for your estate or third party. If you have debt buyer collections within the statute of limitations, don't do it. You may get sued. The company that's going to sue you is going to sue you anyways, but still, okay? Just please listen to me. All right. FCRA section 623A3. We're not going to read this whole thing. I'm trying to make this as short as possible. Duty to provide notice of dispute. All right, let me just see if I can put a box around this. Duty to provide notice of dispute. That's all we care about. This is the key to the credit suite. This entire thing can be handled with this. For the collectors, it says, and this is FDCPA 8078, including the failure to communicate that a disputed debt is disputed. How do you use these? We have letters for this. I'll post a link to one letter in the description with this video link and any other resources I should be giving you. When you dispute something, it needs to be marked as disputed within 30 days. If they don't do that, it's $1,000 occurrence, or excuse me, per occurrence. You do have to sue them, you do have to win, but we don't do any of that stuff. We just dispute directly with the collector using letter one. If it doesn't work, we have letter two. If that doesn't work, we have letter three. But letter one worked for this client. So we did personal information and data furnisher disputes. I didn't dispute directly with their actual creditors for their charge offs because a lot of them were within the statute of limitations. These letters over here on the right. Anyways, they were within the statute of limitations. And obviously, again, I don't want anybody to be sued. So those were handled bureaus only. Now, what made this work was number one, the personal information. Number two, that I attacked the data furnishers, or meaning the collectors first. And it also works that I use many things. Okay. That's going to be disputing all negatives in all three bureaus all at the same time using custom factual disputes in addition to Metro 2 challenges and middle of month violation attacks and all that kind of stuff, right? So if we go back, you can see my letters are very simple. We have the formula here. If you know me, you know the formula: action, justifier, element, reason, outcome. And you can see an example: account number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, delete for violation. This account has been illegally re-aged from original date to the current date. And that's how I write all of my disputes. I'm telling them what I'm disputing, why I'm disputing it, and what I want them to do. We're doing all accounts disputed at the same time, all three bureaus disputed at the same time. And you can actually see the 19 steps to success. And I use this every single time. Now, I know I told you about the formula that I use, right? The Agero formula: action, justifier, element, reason, outcome. I'm telling them what I'm disputing, why, and what I want them to do. Okay. Now, you don't want to just say unverified. You don't want to ask for the method of verification, or, hey, delete this because you failed to investigate or failure to verify or to prove or any of that stuff. If you're going to do that, jump straight to a lawsuit. A very specific process: blatant inaccuracies, last paid, notice dispute, status, update date, and depending on your credit report, this can change, payment history, delinquency, comments such as the notice of dispute, monthly payment on charge offs, high balance is lower than the balance, using the evolution line method, date loss active. Date loss active used to be my number one, it is now number 9. And then we have the crap that doesn't matter: type, open date, terms, balance, status. This is where we started complaints, AG, BB, and then lawsuit. So stop saying you don't have any way to remove the accounts. You have all these things to dispute, and these are just 19 of them. This is the hierarchy. Another thing is there's a different flow for medical collections using the debt validation method. We are going to go and just plow past this. Letters faxed immediately after creation prior to being mailed, and we're mailing it certified or priority mail. Inquiries disputed both with the data furnisher and online. And I'm saying online only for inquiries and personal information. Do not dispute your regular accounts online. If you want a letter for inquiries, it's straightforward. I did not give permission. It does not meet the permissible purpose for pulling my credit or reporting. When you dispute directly with the data furnisher, you can use basically any letter that you find online. Now, let's go to the other important thing: EOSCR code dispute letters. Now, you can only get a copy of this in my live automation software. This is a totally, as you can see, a different letter. It does need to be notarized. It is written in purple for a reason. But this is where the actual codes, the EOSCR codes, go with the actual dispute reason. Use a factual dispute reason followed by the code, such as code 1, code 40, 109, 15, etc. Get access to live automation. The Google Sheets tool I created to basically create your dispute letters. All right. So we already went over medical collections. We already went over this entire process. So we're going to get rid of that. We will get rid of the personal information and EOSCR code dispute. There's something very important that I want to say here. So many people go to the CFPB, the AG, the BB, etc., at the wrong time. This is something that you only want to do after you've exhausted all of your remedies. This means doing everything possible with the bureaus, creditors, and collectors. And if you think that you've already done everything, you are wrong. Okay. And no, don't start talking crap and blah, blah, blah. I've been doing this for 15 years. This is all I do. There's nothing that you can throw at me that I don't know about when it comes to this. And there's a time and a place, and that time and place is not at the beginning. You need something to complain about. You need to go with your dispute letters, credit reports, certified mail, violation log. This is why we set up that violation log. I might create a violation log for you to get an idea. You need to understand we're going after every single thing that we can all at the same time, right? From all different sides. So that's why the last thing on here is listed as middle of the month violation attacks, right? So with middle of the month violation attacks, remember we have bureau disputes, creditor disputes, collector disputes. We have our complaints at the end, but we also can go after violations not associated with things already disputed. Let me give you an example. Let's say we disputed a charge off with Capital One. We're disputing something specific like date last paid. There's misreporting on the date last paid. That is our dispute reason on our dispute letter. That's round one. But 15 days later, we can send round two to go after their failure to enter the notice of dispute. I misspoke. Letter one, we're disputing something such as date last paid. Letter two, we dispute, and now we dispute a violation unless you get the violation within the first 30-day time period. So as long as you are disputing a violation during the middle of the month and not a actual dispute reason, then now you can come at them again when that 30 days is up. So this means that you can actually have multiple rounds going out for the same credit report without having to wait 30 days. It becomes additional information when you're saying the same thing within 30 days. We need to be very specific in our timing and what we are saying. So we've gone over personal information, violation log, data furniture disputes, debt validation. You got my secret to basically all accounts being disputed at the same time, all three bureaus being disputed at the same time, letters being faxed, inquiries, complaints, and middle of the month violation attacks. Now I want to share something that goes directly with this because it is something that I do. Let's check out one of our tip sheets. If you have not seen this before, this is definitely something that you want to check out. Okay. Here are 5 credit sweep tricks, but the most important is down here. In addition to not disputing online, we are doing all the negative items, breaking them up. Dispute your personal information, wait 10 days. Dispute personal info first, break up disputes into 1 to 5 accounts per letter. We want proof that we sent and they received but did not process. And I've already said this with you, but EAR before CFPB, exhausting remedies before going to the CFPB, the debt validation before the credit bureaus because they are highly unlikely to enter that required notice of dispute, and you want to mail your complaint copies. When you send mail, the credit bureaus give higher priority to priority mail and registered mail. Don't dispute online and do not send your letters, and make sure you do return receipt if you're sending it certified, okay? And to get the best possible dispute results, 10 accounts max per letter. You can send them all at the same time. 1 dispute reason per account per letter. Medical accounts can go out in the same letter regardless of quantity. Do not dispute less than 30 days between letters unless you're doing a violation attack. And this can be used for any negative item. This goes for late payments, charge-offs, third-party collections, debt buyer collections, bankruptcy, judgments, tax liens, student loans, foreclosures, repossessions, any negative item on your credit report, you can use this process to do this. So this brings me to the last part. How were we able to get such a high credit score so quickly? It was using a combination of everything we went over. So that was by doing everything all at the same time, all of our prep work with personal information and collector disputes, attacking the violations, and being very specific in what we wanted to do. So we were able to, mostly because of the personal information and the formula, remove all those negative items except for a handful. Out of 20, only like 3 of them remained, okay, at that 60th mark after. So we pulled report number 1 in March, report number 2 in April, and report number 3 in May. And that was 200 points higher. And that was very simply by removing the negative items. The next step for the specific client, of course, is adding positive credit so they can get even higher and get to that next step. All right. I know you're going to have questions about this, and that is totally and completely fine. I welcome your questions. You can post it as a comment or hit me up directly on Telegram at Ask Kristen. I think that is it for now.